Welcome back to another episode of my podcast, The 4 a.m. Talks. I'm your host, Manoj Velu, and you're listening to Stories with Manoj Velu. If you're listening it in the podcast platforms and you're watching it on YouTube, welcome back. And everyone, so not only on YouTube but also on the podcast streams, I just wanted to thank you and welcome you to our podcast. So, this is the second quarter. This is our episode. So we have completed the first quarter very successfully. So today's episode is really important in a way where I would like to take you in a direction that is something which I have not done before. So what is that one thing which I wanted to tell you today? So today's episode is going to be really a thoughtful, and it will make you to go to different parts of your life and think about it, and what are the certain decisions that you have taken to make sure that you have been here today. So what is that one thing? I will reveal that, but before that I wanted to tell you a story. So imagine John Carpenter. John Carpenter wants to become a successful businessman. So what he does is, he goes out there and he executes, becomes a businessman, becomes successful. End of the story. It's boring. It is not going to happen. Yes, you're right. Because if you take any of your role models, it could be a businessman, it could be a sports person, it could be your teacher, it could be anyone. Everybody has gone through something which, that suffering that they had gone through, that path which, they thought that this is going to make me to reach that goal. That is why you have taken them as their role model. Imagine if they just go out and, if they go out and win, just like, having a cup of tea. It's not that. It's not, it's not an easy road path where everything is defined for you and you're just going to go out there and, enjoy the ride. It's not that. The path, you may know the destination, you may know where you wanted to reach, but the path that you're going to take is really important. The people who have achieved something really great in their life, both professional and personal life, if you look at them closely, if you watch them closely, if you follow them closely, what do you understand is that they have taken the path, the difficult path that they have chose, deliberately or unknowingly. It is the path they have taken, but the way they have taken their attitude, their level of confidence, their level of, having that sense to focus on their destination, irrespective of several things distracting them, is what makes them great. So I will give you an example. So I have my friend, we talk every day. So if we watch a very good interviews, we would like to, we would share each other and we would ask them to watch, and if he finds it really meaningful, he would send it to me, and vice versa. So today, I had sent this long back. Today he had responded me saying that, finally I watched this interview of, Kobe Bryant, where there is a specific moment that my friend caught that attention of that particular part of the interview, which made me realize that, okay, this is the most important thing that, everyone. So even I was able to relate to that. So when Kobe Bryant started at his childhood, he has explained in an interview that he was not, super, tough guy where he would go out and score 60. So he was never doing that. He was very, he was not able to get any points or something. So what he did was, he understood, if he wants to get to that level, if he wants to score 60, what he had to do is to focus on the fundamentals. He understood that he has to be well rounded. He played to his weaknesses. He understood what his weaknesses, his strengths were. He developed on that. And what he did specifically was, if he goes out there and if he starts the basics or whatever, so if it's only shooting the ball, he would do that for a specific amount of time. 1 month I'm not going to do anything, I'm just going to shoot. So this is how he learned. He understood that it's not going to be easy catching up to those guys who are scoring at a much higher level than him at that moment. He understood that he's going to be well rounded at the age of more than 4 to 5 years down the line. At that moment he will be well rounded, and the players who were above him before, they are not so well rounded because they are only practicing to their strengths and not to their weaknesses. So these are the things which Kobe Bryant understood. This path is not easy. This path is not defined as it's an easy path. There are few things, there are few questions which he would have asked at that moment, which he wouldn't have revealed in any interviews, but there are so many things that would have gone through his mind. He was able to, the battle which he faced was not the external one. It is within him, the internal battle. How would I go to that level? How would I reach to my fullest capacity, my optimum capacity? How would I do that? And once he understood that, the journey which he took of understanding the fundamentals, understanding the game a lot more, all these things, as he goes along, the journey that he had gone through, even though he had not spent much time with his family, he always practices and goes there and tries to always find out his weaknesses and goes after it. This is the journey that everyone talks about. The journey is not important. If you take any other sports person or any businessman, their path is not easy, and that is why they have achieved something that we would always love to be at that level. We wanted to achieve to that level. So what am I trying to tell you in this story? John Carpenter went out and he made it. At that moment, what would John Carpenter think? This is the story that I wanted to tell you. Is John Carpenter going to say, yes, I have made it and that's it? Or is he going to, go back to his days where, he had these challenging times where nobody understood him, where everyone doubted him, when people said it's impossible, and people left him, the most trusted person, stabbed him at his back? Is he going to remember these things, or is he just going to say, I have made it? So if you have guessed the first one is the right one, you are correct. It is, because it's the path that John Carpenter has taken is not an easy one. There are so many answers which are left unanswered, and that's fine, because as he goes along, he will have that curiosity to figure it out. So once he figures it out, he's going to take actions on it. So once he takes actions on it, he's going to learn by making a lot of mistakes and making sure that he doesn't commit the same mistake that he had done before, and trying to move forward. These are the things that curiosity level to always go ahead, go forward, move ahead in life, inspiring the generations that is going to come. These are the things which is gonna make them great. So nobody is gonna forget anybody of your, it could be any one of your role model. Nobody is gonna forget. It's not like you gotta remember the name, but the work which they have done, the path which they have went through, it's gonna define them. It's always, it if you feel someone, you always gonna go back to their path. If I love this person called Patrick Bet David. He's a great businessman who has gone through a lot. He has this YouTube channel called Valuetainment. It's a fantastic channel, you can check it out. So what he does is, in his videos, he had actually he had given his story out. He has told his story. So when he was kicked out of the hospital where his father had a heart attack, and he had to have some sort of money, and he didn't have that, and he was doing some crazy things, and eventually the hospital people have actually kicked him out, and he went through and got into the car, and he cried out 30 minutes straight. That moment defined him. The old Patrick Bet David, where he would go out to clubs, enjoy, all those things, vanished. He went out and he said, I'm not going to the club anymore. He was focused from that moment. That moment defined him. So there are moments that is going to define you. There's going to be challenges where they're going to say you're going to quit, but are you willing to quit at that moment, or are you going to withstand that pain for some time? And after that, it's always going to be an exponential growth that is 100% guaranteed, because you are willing to go through such pain, and having that persistence and that courage, and to always not give up to that dream is really important. So I've told you about Kobe Bryant, I've told you about Patrick Bet David. These are the examples. I love these two guys, so I talked about them. Coming back to you, who are your role models? If you are looking at them, I'm sure you would look at them very closely on what they did and what are the things that they have accomplished, how did they do that, what are the paths that they have taken, what are the decisions that they had to take on certain key moments, and why did they take that. These are the questions. See, so many questions are formed, and how did they get to us, found out an answer which they were trying to figure it out. These are the things that you would go out and find out, because in that way you're learning about a person, and also you're understanding that this is the thing that is going to take to achieve to that level which you're always aiming for. So with this, I just wanted you to ask, what is the path that you wanted to take? I know there is not going to be a lot of things that is running in your mind. I'm sure that you have that dream of getting something really big. What is that path? It's not a well-defined path. I know that. So ask yourself, am I having that curiosity to find out, to figure it out, and to go out and make sure that you achieve your dream no matter what in a right way? So this is the question that I wanted to ask you. Make sure that you go back, reflect back on this episode, and try to get what are the things that you needed to take, and write it down and reflect back and try to grow. So with this being said, I wanted to thank you for tuning in to this podcast. You have always backed us coming to this episode, trying to learn new things that we are trying to talk about, and And always I'm happy that you have always come to this platforms. It's going to be either audio platforms like the podcasts and other things, and also YouTube and the video platforms. I'm so happy and grateful. Thank you for tuning in. And if you have any comments or suggestions, and if you're watching it on the platform, the podcast platforms, you can always email us. It's called 4am talks podcast office at the rate of gmail.com. And if you're watching it on YouTube, you can simply go to the comment section and comment below, and we would be happy to look at your reviews on our channel and where we need to improve and all those stuff. So with this being said, have a wonderful day everyone. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.